What's up? It's Robert from Existence First, and what I want to talk to you about today is a bit of a reflection on birthdays and the positivity and negativity associated with the aging process. So last week I turned 32, and that lent itself to a bit of reflection, right? So I was thinking back to when I was age 6, 7, 8, and I used to go to the store with my mom to buy birthday cards for people. So I would pick some up, read them, and try to help speed up the process. And uh, and what I remember is that there's a large difference between two categories. There were the cards for kids and teens, and then there were the cards for adults. And the cards for teens and kids were always positive. They were like, "Congratulations, you're 9," um, or "Somebody turned 16. Hope you're excited to drive." Like, always upbeat, right? But the cards for people, well, specifically like age 40 and up, they were always like negative, like cynical negative. And they would say things like, "I heard you're over the hill. Um, I'll save you a seat at bingo," or like making fun of older people, or "Another birthday?" Question mark, question mark, question mark. Um, well, at least maybe you'll get some yummy cake, like as if it's something. The birthday's a negative thing, and so I remember when I was reading these as a kid, I couldn't understand like why the negativity for these older cards, right? Well, there's a few ways to look at this, right? And this is Existence First, which is self-help for deep thinkers, so we're going to go deep into this, right? On the one hand, these cards for the older group, maybe it's just that they're, aging maybe is a negative thing if you're not growing. Maybe the youth, they were growing, right? One year you're driving, next year you're voting, next year, right? And and so maybe for them, aging is exciting, and maybe for the other group, aging is it's something negative because they're not growing. So then the problem is that they need to grow. Like, okay, yes, that's level one deep, right? But let's go level three, four deep, right? So another way to look at this is that, and I don't know if this is cultural. Like, I grew up in the Midwest, so I don't know if this is just a little like sense of humor thing from the Midwest, or if this was, you know, cross country specific to the United States. I don't know, but whatever the population size was, okay, obviously this was a cultural thing to some degree. What this was, in my perspective, now looking back, it's a society's attempt to use humor to cope with something, with a psychological problem that they are not equipped to deal with. And humor is the best thing they could do. That's the best they could do, right? So, what is this big problem that they don't know how to cope with it? Well, it's the problem of death and aging and mortality, right? Pretty much pillar one of Existence First philosophy. It's biological contingency, like they were not at peace with that. So, I mean, what would happen if what's one way to look at it? If I take this kitchen timer, right, I put it on my forehead, and I say, "Look, do you get what the human being is? This is temporary. This is a temporary thing. The time is ticking. The minutes are ticking away. The days are ticking away." Right? I'm like, do you get it now? That you might have mixed reactions to that, right? At least part of me does feel like that's it's kind of like morbid, sad, depressing, right? But I feel like that part of me was more so conditioned from society, right? Another part of me, when I do this, I've been doing this like, thought experiment last couple of days, right? And there are many times where when I do this, I feel a very enjoyable sense of peace, a very profound sense of peace, and I value my life more. right? I value my time more. So how do we make sense of this? Well, one analogy you can think of is, let's say, you're in a large backyard and you have a dog, and you run away from the dog, and that causes the dog to chase after you. That you may have had that experience. But that's like a metaphor for when people, with those cards for the 40 and up group, people running away from this problem of mortality and aging, the problem's just going to chase after them. So it's not really a long-term solution, in my opinion. Now, let's say you stop running and you calmly and confidently stand tall. That dog will stop chasing and then will start to adopt your calm and confident demeanor, or it will relax, right? And eventually the two of you can coexist peacefully side by side. That's sort of the feeling that I get when I do this experiment. I get a feeling that I can coexist with mortality. I can even use it to feel good about life. It motivates me to make sure that my life, I spend it in rich experiences, right? And then there's a final point here, okay, which is I want to make a point about language. So specifically the word distract or distraction, which I've heard come up a few times in the last couple of weeks, and that's why I'm addressing it now. So the word distraction, I never liked it used in this context, right? And so you might have people, trying to distract themselves from, growing old or something like that, right? Or from mortality, right? And okay, yes, that's a bit of a, it probably produces some relief, more of a short-term solution. But to use the word distract is very dangerous, and here's why. Like I said, I never liked that word, and I didn't understand why until just recently when I looked up the root words, and it comes from some Latin root words. Okay, I wrote them down. The first one is dis, which means apart, right? And then the part tract comes from a root word trahere, which means to draw or drag. So to drag apart, right? So draw or drag apart. Sounds similar to the dog analogy, right? So you're drawing apart. Now, the danger with the word distract is this. It's in the presuppositions. So if you say that you're going to distract yourself from something else, it's sort of presumed or like implied or presupposed that whatever you're distracting yourself from is real. Because if it were just illusion or something false, right, false idea, you wouldn't have to run from it. You would just dispel the illusion, right, and then deal with it. No reason to run from an illusion. But if it's something that's actually real and unpleasant, then you better run from that. So it actually makes me think of the predator-prey relationship, very evolutionary, evolutionary psychology there. But so if you're running away from this thing, right, it's almost presupposing that it's real and that it's negative. So then by saying distract, you're going to distract yourself. You're presupposing that there is this drab or dismal reality from which you are distracting yourself. Okay, and that's just, I would never adopt that type of philosophy. It's too negative, right? So, what's the solution to that? Okay, well, of course, you just stop using the word distract, right? But we kind of, instead of run from, we just coexist. Like, I don't know, try it on this idea, the timer on your head, right? This understanding that you are a temporary being, because it's going to agree with some other observations that you make, such as the aging process, the deteriorating of your body, and yes, kind of depressing, but there's going to be agreement there. So now your philosophy is going to be more aligned with reality. So will that produce a sense of inner peace? I don't know. Try it out. comment below what results you find, because here we are, we're interacting with reality. Try something out, a new thought, see what happens with our feelings. Okay, keep experimenting, keep thinking deeply, and put your existence first.